Find your liberal sparring partner at facebook.com/The Lars Larson Show.
Welcome back to the program. It is First Amendment Friday. Anybody can sound off any subject. Welcome. Just keep it clean enough for the show. And, of course, naysayers go to the head of the line. Email talk@LarsLarson.com. Easy to remember, talk@LarsLarson. Bob writes in, Lars, I couldn't listen today, but I'll bet you're talking about Dinesh D'Souza. Yes, I will talk about him a little bit later on this hour. He says there are no Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, or liberals. Make no mistake, there are only two kinds of people in what's left of America, patriots and constitutionalists and traitors. You can bet you're on the government zealots list. Watch your back. Thank you for that warning. I appreciate it. On the phone with me right now is Congressman Tim Griffin. Congressman, good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
He's from the great state of Arkansas, and you'd very much like to sit down with President Obama and talk about some real health care reform, but where have your requests gone?
Well, I've been trying. I think we're up to 45 days now since I sent, along with about 33 of my colleagues, I sent a letter over. And the letter was in response to President Obama's speech, where he basically said, hey, if you've got some health care ideas and you really want to talk about them, hey, I want to hear them. So right after that speech, I wrote a letter and got a bunch of my colleagues to sign on, and we basically said, look, hey, we want to talk. We've got some serious ideas. And to be fair, look, I know that as long as he's in the White House, he's not going to sign a repeal that we send him of Obamacare. He may repeal parts of it on his own, as we've seen. But, so our ideas are ideas that we need to talk about regardless of the mess that's going on with the current system, like competition across state lines for insurance companies, and expand the role of HSAs, health savings accounts, give people more control over their health care. So there's a lot of things that we want to talk about, and so far, crickets from the White House.
Well, and the thing is, it really does need some reform. I would like to see the thing repealed, like I think you would as well. But last night on the way home, I was listening to some liberal radio, government-funded NPR kind of stuff, because I like to sample what the left is saying. And, of course, they get $500 million of the public's money to do it. And they were doing this long story on Georgia. And they were saying, gosh, but in Georgia, under the Obamacare exchanges, I guess out of 40 or 50 counties, all but a couple of counties, the only choice you have is, I think it's Blue Cross for the entire state. So I thought, well, that's great. You know, if they had cross-state purchase of insurance, which should happen tomorrow, they would have some more choices. But Obamacare says, hey, we've got this marketplace of things for you to choose from, and they all come from the same company. I mean, don't people realize on the Democrat side of this that what a joke that is to say we're going to give you more choice as long as your choice is Blue Cross?
Well, there's a lot of them that actually, I guess, don't understand it, or they are willing to put up with that in order to achieve these other goals. You got to remember, a lot of these Democrats would like to see one choice, the government choice, a single payer choice. So I'm not sure that it bothers them that there are just a few choices. Look, in Arkansas, I think it's about 70% of the people here are on Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I think you have about 4 main choices. Yeah. What if we and there are some states where it's almost everybody's on one, right? Blue Cross, and they get special tax treatment. Let's remember, in most states or many states, they have special tax treatment as a nonprofit, so. This is a persistent problem. What if instead of 4 choices, you had 400 choices?
I think that'd be fantastic. I'm talking to Congressman Tim Griffin, who represents the 2nd District in Arkansas when he goes back to Congress. See, that's the problem. That little change alone would make a gigantic difference in healthcare costs. And again, I don't mean to disparage Blue Cross at all, because I don't think they're a bad organization. But every organization works better when it has to compete, and it doesn't work as well when it has no competition. I mean, if you know everybody going to the exchange is going to be offered 4 different versions of Blue Cross, bronze, gold, silver, and platinum, then Blue Cross doesn't have to work very hard to get your business.
Right. Well, and Blue Cross is following the law as it's written, and they saw an opportunity or see an opportunity to beat their competition and get to the extent there is any, and get more money. I'm not blaming them for playing the game the way they do. I'm blaming the federal government for setting up the rules to the game the way that they do. That's what this is all about. What if instead of what if you were able to look on the internet and say, well, hey, I see a plan. I live in Arkansas, but I see a plan in out of Portland that I think would fit my family best.
Yeah.
I want to get that one, right? And that's the sort of choice and competition and variety that we're talking about here. And so there are a lot of, the bottom line is the idea that it's Obamacare or nothing, that is a false choice that Democrats want Americans to buy into, because then they can say, well, the Republicans just want to take you back pre-Obamacare for this reason or that reason. The truth is there are many, 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 many options to reform health care other than Obamacare. And to say otherwise is just untrue. And we're trying to get the president to engage. And, so far it's pretty clear he's just talking.
Well, Congressman, I'm a registered Republican, so I always admit my dog in the fight. But I'm a conservative first, Republican second. If I had one criticism of the way that Republican office holders have approached this, it is that you're right. People say, well, if you want to blow up Obamacare, what do you want to replace it with? And, all of us conservatives say, well, there are tons of ideas and we can name them off. But it would be really nice if Republican office holders said, listen, here's what we want to do. We want to take away Obamacare, but here is a short version of the plan we want to replace it with. And
Sure.
And don't make it locked down and, write it in stone, but just say, listen, here's what we replace it. Cross-border sales. Get rid of the mandates. Allow people to buy the package that fits them so you don't have, two 60-year-old people in a family, a husband and wife, who are forced to buy maternity care or pediatric care or whatever that doesn't fit them at all. And if you rolled out something where you're saying we want to gut this and we want to replace it with that, that gives people a choice. But to a certain extent, we play right into the Democrats' hands by saying, well, we got to get rid of that first, and then we'll tell you later what we're going to replace it with. Hold on a second. That doesn't work for most people in most places in life. If you say, I'm going to take away this job, well, what job am I going to replace it with? We'll tell you about that later. Nobody buys a pig in a poke like that.
Well, I've got good news for you.
What is that?
First of all, I agree with you. Second of all, that's what is in my letter. Third of all, there are over 200 bills introduced in the House by Republicans that involve health care reform. There are a number of bills that are what we would call package or comprehensive bills to replace Obamacare. So there are varying, and I'm a co-sponsor of the one that came out of the Republican Study Committee that has a lot of these ideas in it. Chairman Tom Price of Georgia, an MD, a doctor, orthopedist, I think was his specialty.
Yep.
He's got a bill. There are a lot of bills. So depending on how specific you want to get along the scale, you can do it. You can look at my letter. My letter obviously is not a 2,000-page or 500-page or 100-page bill. It's just a letter. But it outlines, what I did was I looked at all the plans that Republicans have been talking about. I extracted our best ideas, and I put them in this letter. And I said, let's talk about that. Let's talk about it, Mr. President. So there are a lot of people that agree with you. Now, there are some people making decisions in terms of messaging and what we do,
Congressman,
that may not agree with me.
Congressman,
but I do.
I'm up against the clock, but we're going to post your letter on my website at larslarson.com. We'll let people take a look at it. It's a fantastic idea, and we very much appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Let's talk risk corridors soon.
You got
The
it.
Lars Larson Show.